everyone, day 13, Elise of my Happy Life Makeover. And I am in Alstead, New Hampshire. I decided to film here today because I was dropping my daughter Olivia off at her friend Megan's for her 14th birthday party. Happy birthday, Megan. It is so beautiful here. I used to live up here and I really miss it sometimes. And sometimes I don't. I like being in town, and then I could walk to most places I want to go. So both are nice. Anyway, it's nice to be back for today. Today we're going to talk about the amygdala, that little pea-sized organelle in our brain that when it's turned on is responsible for fight or flight or freeze. I want to talk about making small change and why sometimes making small change is more effective than taking off a really big bite of something that we start chewing and realize, ugh, this is way more than I can handle. Dr. Robert Maurer has a CD set out called One Small Step. And I think his work is phenomenal. See, what happens is the mind is either in creative process or it's in survival mode. For example, I think it's Robert that talks about this. If a gazelle is eating and all of a sudden it notices in the distance there's a lion, and the lion's head pops up and the gazelle pops up, the gazelle has an instantaneous second to stop eating and take off. And there's all kinds of physiological changes that happen in the body and mind really quickly. When he takes off, the herd takes off and the lion charges, whichever of the gazelles that get away, once they're far enough away and they realize, they look around and say, okay, I made it, it wasn't me that was eating, thank God, they begin to eat again. And as soon as they begin to eat, they shut off the amygdala. So eating tells the body is safe. That's kind of a different subject, but I just want to throw that out because that's some of the reasons that we late night snack when we're worried about something, or we don't even know we're worrying, and we start like this hand-to-mouth thing without thinking about it. It's unconscious eating. It's an attempt to shut off the amygdala. I'm sweating. Actually, I had a little bead of sweat in that little cleft right there. So today I want to talk about how we begin to come up with ways to sneak around the amygdala. So let's say you're feeling really stressed or angry or any of those emotions that are kind of low vibrating emotions, and you are getting to the place where you're starting to become aware quicker and quicker. Oh, I'm not feeling so good, so something's off. And you either know you feel you know what's causing it, or you are just simply aware, I'm off, something's off. One of the things I like to do now is to immediately, when I notice that, get really quiet, close my eyes and say, I am safe. I am safe. Now, I know that sounds silly if you say, well, what if I'm arguing with someone? I don't feel unsafe. But the truth is that we always have fear. If we're angry at someone, at the root of that anger is fear, because that person, our interpretation of what that person is doing or saying is bringing up something for us that we either think may be true about us or could become true about us, or we don't want to be true about us. And so we want to start pushing, away those person's words and turn the volume down on that own stuff in us that's coming up from the subconscious to the conscious level, because it's just too uncomfortable maybe to process. And so as an attempt to do that, we're, fear's at the bottom of that. We start feeling angry. One of the ways that we can start turning down that volume is to say, I'm safe. You have to decide when the right opportunity is to do that, but I like to take a quiet moment and get right to that. And when I do that, what I find is I can do all these other pivoting techniques that I have called my bag of pivoting tips or pivoting tricks. And I think I'm going to talk about that in tomorrow's post, so this one doesn't get much longer. So if you can start to think about making small change, what happens is when the mind thinks that the project or the change is doable, it doesn't come up with all these excuses in the back of the mind saying, oh, I can't do that. Who do I think I am to think I could do this or do that? I've tried before and it's never worked. Well, that's why we usually self-sabotage. So if we start thinking about taking small steps, we start making these efforts to sneak around the amygdala. And if we start sneaking around the amygdala, we're opening ourselves up to all kinds of creative possibilities. And I definitely got the confirmation from Dr. Joe Dispenza that the mind is either in creative process or it's in survival mode, and that it can never be in both modes at the same time. I think that's kind of interesting. So the quickest way to find out whether you're in creative or survival is to assess your emotions. How are you feeling? Are you happy? Are you joyful? Are you blissful? Are you serene? Those are creative emotions. The flip side of that, are you depressed? Are you angry? Are you vengeful? Are you bored is getting near the middle line and hope? I think if you guys want words to kind of go along with that scale, you could look at the work of Esther Hicks, the Abraham. I think they've got a lot of books out, and I'm trying to think of the main one. Oh, asking it is given. I think page 120, 122-ish, somewhere in there is a scale. And, you know, she'll suggest don't get too hung on the words. It doesn't mean that, you know, boredom is at whatever number it is, and she'll explain that. I'll let them do that. They do that better than I can. So, yeah. So tomorrow I'm going to get really clear and get right to the point. We'll get really specific on how can you begin to pivot, and I'll throw some ideas at you, and really they need to be personal to what makes you feel good, but at least I'll give you some kind of general topics that you can work from and start to think about. Once the first tip is becoming hyper aware of when you're out of alignment, instead of letting it snowball and going down the rabbit hole with somebody or with a thought and letting it run crazy. Why am I talking with my hands so much today? I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about pivoting tomorrow. Today, start thinking about making small change and about what kind of things that you might do to shut your amygdala off, maybe that aren't healthy, and what sort of things that you could be doing to shut your amygdala off that are healthy. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. I am going to enjoy my time here in Elstead. Bye. I can't shut this off. I'm trying. I'm going to have to spin it around. Look at that beautiful church. Can you see it? Isn't that cool? Look at that. Amazing. All right, bye guys.